For Shedeur Sanders, this moment isn't simply about business. It's about purpose. The son of Deion Sanders, raised under the pressure of legacy and expectation, now faces a decision that could redefine both his career and identity. The reported $100 million offer represents freedom, financial security, brand autonomy, and generational wealth, yet also threatens to unravel the dream he's fought to build in the NFL. Inside Cleveland, tension is boiling. Jimmy Haslam, Andrew Berry, and Kevin Stefanski are desperately trying to contain an internal collapse as fans voice outrage and players quietly question the team's direction.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Sanders' choice reveals the emotional weight behind every modern athlete's career. The constant pull between proving oneself on the field and protecting one's future off it. Whether he stays or walks away, this decision forces the league to confront a new reality. The game's biggest stars are no longer just players under contract, but autonomous brands with the power to walk when the system no longer serves them. The Cleveland Browns are unraveling. Their most valuable asset, quarterback Shedeur Sanders, has been hit with a $100 million external offer that could rip him out of the NFL entirely. And the franchise is absolutely panicked. This isn't some standard contract renegotiation. This is a bombshell business package that's redefining what it even means to be an NFL player. We're talking brand deals, media ventures, global marketing collaborations, long-term equity stakes, and performance bonuses tied to social media engagement. Not stats, not wins, engagement. That's how far the game has shifted. And the Browns? They're stuck playing checkers while everyone else is building empires. The offer isn't even coming from within the NFL ecosystem. It was designed outside the league entirely, crafted with meticulous legal engineering to skirt around traditional contract restrictions. Sanders is being courted not as a quarterback, but as a cultural phenomenon, an international brand with more market potential than most NFL teams combined. And the timing couldn't be worse for Cleveland. The organization is already spiraling, weighed down by infighting, leadership disputes, and a culture that's been broken for years. Now they're trying to keep their future from walking out the door, and possibly walking straight into a global influencer empire. Inside the Browns facility, it's mayhem. Owner Jimmy Haslam, GM Andrew Berry, and head coach Kevin Stefanski are holding frantic emergency meetings. Internal communication has tightened. Security protocols have ramped up. There's no unified message coming from leadership, just panic. This isn't a bad trade or a locker room squabble. This is an existential threat, the kind of moment that exposes every crack in your foundation. Fans know it. Season ticket holders are furious. Public protests are brewing. The local community feels blindsided and betrayed. They were sold the idea that Sanders would be the franchise savior, the one to finally stabilize the Browns' endless quarterback carousel. Now he might be gone before his rookie contract is even up. Not for another team, but for something bigger than the league itself. And here's the part that's really scaring the front office. Legally, Sanders might have a way out. Experts are pointing to potential arguments built on claims of a hostile work environment, breach of good faith, or outright organizational misconduct. These aren't just legal buzzwords. They're pathways. If Sanders pursues them and succeeds, it could blow the door wide open for other players stuck in failing franchises. The Browns could lose more than player. They could become the case study that shatters the NFL's grip on rookie contracts. And if that happens, every team in the league is vulnerable. What's even more disruptive is the structure of this $100 million deal. It's not about cash alone. There are layers, guaranteed payouts, incentives based on social metrics, long-term equity in sectors like fashion, tech, and content deals that stretch across global streaming platforms. This is what athlete monetization looks like now. It's not about signing bonuses and touchdown incentives. It's about ownership, long-term wealth, and becoming a business in your own right. Shedeur Sanders is being offered a chance to stop being just a quarterback and start being a franchise, his own franchise. Meanwhile, Cleveland is desperately trying to build a counteroffer. Sources say they're looking at everything from renegotiated guarantees to organizational control. They're considering giving Sanders influence over team branding, marketing, and potentially even decision-making authority. That's not just unorthodox. That's unheard of. A second-year player being handed the steering wheel of the franchise just to keep him in the building? That tells you how terrified they are of losing him. But here's the problem. They still might lose him. Because no matter what the Browns offer, they can't fix the culture overnight. And culture is exactly what's driving Sanders away. Years of instability, locker room dysfunction, and leadership failures have created an environment where trust is almost impossible to rebuild. And no amount of money or control changes the fact that Sanders might just want out, not for selfish reasons, but because the environment around him is falling apart. It's not just about what Sanders could gain by leaving. It's about what he risks by staying. And the rest of the league is watching. Some front offices see this as an opportunity. If Sanders becomes a free agent by legal means, teams will line up for a shot. Others are worried. If this kind of external offer becomes a new standard, the balance of power shifts dramatically. Teams won't just be competing with each other. They'll be competing with Silicon Valley, with global fashion houses, with entertainment companies that have bigger budgets and fewer rules. The NFL's long-standing model of control, predictability, and slow power shifts, it doesn't hold up when players have billion-dollar exit strategies waiting outside the stadium. This moment is bigger than the Browns. It's bigger than Sanders. It's a reckoning for the league. The NFL has always been a closed system. Teams control talent, contracts control careers, and a collective bargaining agreement keeps it all tightly regulated. But what happens when an external force builds a better system? What happens when a player doesn't need the league to build wealth, fame, or cultural relevance? Sanders isn't challenging a team. He's challenging the entire model. And the NFL knows it. League officials are reportedly monitoring the situation closely, because if Sanders successfully exits under claims of misconduct or toxic environment, the floodgates open. The idea that rookie contracts are untouchable? Gone. The idea that being drafted means being locked in for 4 years? Over. Suddenly, drafted players could have real leverage from day one, and that could reshape the league's entire financial structure. It could also force teams to finally reckon with how they treat their players, not just on field, but off it. Because let's be honest, this isn't just a business problem. There are personal layers here. Sanders is facing a deeply human decision. Compete for greatness in a dysfunctional system, or step into a fully formed global opportunity built around health, security, and long-term growth. It's not just career versus cash. It's pressure versus peace, risk versus legacy. And guiding him through it is Deion Sanders, his father, mentor, and someone who knows exactly how cutthroat the league can be. That emotional weight matters, because this decision affects more than just stats and records. It affects family, identity, and personal values. It's why this isn't just about football anymore. Inside Cleveland, things are reaching a boiling point. The front office is split. Some want to do whatever it takes to keep Sanders. Others believe giving him that much power would destroy what little team chemistry remains. And then there's a coaching staff, already under pressure, now expected to manage a player who might have more influence than they do. Even if the Browns manage to keep Sanders, they've created a power imbalance that will be nearly impossible to manage. He's not just the quarterback anymore. He's the guy who brought the organization to its knees. And that's not something a team just bounces back from. The long-term damage is done. The trust between player and franchise has been fractured, maybe permanently. And even if the situation stabilizes, the league itself has to deal with the fallout. Player unions, contract lawyers, and agents across the country are studying the situation closely. The idea that a player can be lured out of the NFL by a $100 million business empire? That changes everything. What we're seeing isn't a contract dispute. It's a paradigm shift. A flashpoint in the ongoing battle between athlete autonomy and institutional control. And whether Sanders stays or goes, the NFL can't go back to the way things were. Cleveland's crisis is a warning to every team in the league. If your culture is toxic, if your leadership is weak, and if your players don't trust you, it won't take much for someone else to offer them a better path. And when that offer comes, it won't be just about money. It'll be about freedom, legacy, and long-term power. So where does this all end? That depends on what Shedeur Sanders decides. Does he accept the weight of being the Browns' last hope? Or does he take the leap into something completely new, a world where he's not just a quarterback, but a brand, a businessman, and a cultural force beyond the field? Either way, one thing is clear. The old rules don't apply anymore. And the league? It better catch up fast. If you got thoughts on how this ends, drop them in the comments. Would you stay and fight for a dysfunctional team, or walk away with a bag and build something of your own? And don't forget to subscribe, because this saga is just getting started, and the next chapter, it's going to change everything. What's happening with Shedeur Sanders and the Cleveland Browns isn't just sports news. It's an institutional rupture. It's a confrontation between the old power structure of professional football and the new reality of athlete autonomy. And at the center of it all is a 21-year-old quarterback staring down a $100 million decision that could redefine how the game works forever. Let's be absolutely clear. The situation never should have reached this point. When Sanders entered the NFL, he wasn't just another rookie. He came in with generational expectations, media magnetism, and one of the most recognizable last names in sports. He wasn't just drafted. He was handed the hopes of a franchise and a fan base that's been wandering in the quarterback desert for decades. The Browns needed him to be the face of their redemption arc. He was supposed to be the beginning of stability, not the epicenter of a crisis. But then the fractures started showing. Internally, Cleveland has been a mess for years. The ownership has been criticized for micromanagement. Coaches come and go like seasonal interns. The front office cycles through visions faster than fans can buy new jerseys. Every year it's a new culture reset. Every season ends the same way. Confusion, disappointment, and blame. Now add to that a superstar rookie with a massive media following and the strategic backing of a business-savvy inner circle. Of course this blew up. Because while the Browns were busy trying to fit Sanders into their broken system, outside forces were building him an entirely new one. One where he doesn't have to wait for 3 losing seasons and a front office reshuffle to start winning. One where his value isn't tied to franchise dysfunction, but to his own personal brand. One where he doesn't just play in the league, he rivals it. The $100 million offer reflects that shift in power. It's not a gamble. It's not even a recruitment. It's a takeover. The people behind this offer didn't just wake up one day and decide to throw money at a quarterback. This was calculated, coordinated. They saw the dysfunction in Cleveland and moved in with surgical precision. The deal is legally structured to get around NFL rules. It's multi-layered, with performance bonuses tied to social engagement, equity in international ventures, and guaranteed payouts that exceed most NFL quarterback contracts, all while offering Sanders control over his image, his content, and his future. And Cleveland? They're still trying to figure out how it got this far. From what's been reported, the front office is scrambling to respond. They're considering every option, restructuring his rookie deal, offering massive guarantees, even granting him unprecedented influence over team operations. Think about how far off the rails things have gone when a franchise is considering handing a second-year quarterback influence over staffing, branding, and internal decision-making. This is desperation. This is an organization teetering on the edge of collapse, trying to bribe its way back to credibility. But here's the thing. They might not even have the power to fix this. Because what Sanders is weighing isn't just about football. It's about long-term vision. It's about security, health, happiness, and brand longevity. It's about choosing between being another player in a broken system or becoming something bigger, an autonomous business force with global reach. And guiding him through all of this is his father, Deion Sanders, a man who's been through the machine, a man who's always told his sons to control their own narrative. You better believe Deion is watching this unfold with laser focus. He knows the risks. He knows the cost of loyalty to a team that hasn't earned it. And more importantly, he knows that his son has options no players had before. That's what makes this such a landmark moment. This isn't a holdout. This isn't about salary cap math or hurt feelings over a depth chart. This is a player being offered an exit from the NFL ecosystem altogether, without switching leagues, without demanding a trade. Just walking away from the system and stepping into a fully developed ecosystem designed around him. And it's working. The media is in a frenzy. Every outlet is covering the fallout. Every talking head is dissecting whether this marks the beginning of a new era or the implosion of an old one. International markets are already calculating the financial upside of Shedeur going independent. Investors are calling agents. Players are calling lawyers. And NFL owners? They're calling each other in panic. Because if this becomes the norm, the league loses its grip. If one player can walk out with his value intact and his brand growing, others will follow, especially the young ones. Especially the ones who feel trapped in toxic franchises with no leadership and no long-term vision. This is the ultimate test case. And the outcome will either reinforce the NFL's control or break it entirely. And let's not pretend this is isolated to Sanders. If you think there aren't already conversations happening behind closed doors between other elite prospects and outside partners, you're not paying attention. The business model has changed. The power has shifted. And Shedeur's decision will show just how far that shift has gone. Back in Cleveland, the damage is already irreversible. Even if Sanders stays, even if they throw everything they've got at him and keep him in the building, the franchise is exposed. The locker room knows the truth. The fans have seen behind the curtain. The league is aware. The idea that this team is stable? Dead. The illusion of control? Gone. Because when you offer a player influence over team decisions just to keep them from leaving, you're no longer running a franchise. You're managing a crisis. And it's not just a PR problem. It's an existential one. The Browns have to confront what this says about them. That they couldn't keep the one player who was supposed to change everything. That they let it get so toxic, so unstable, that someone was able to build a $100 million escape plan around it. And they know the stakes. If Sanders walks, they don't just lose a quarterback. They lose a locker room, the fan base, the media narrative, and possibly the future of the franchise as a competitive entity. This is how teams spiral. One decision, one moment, one failure to adapt, and everything unravels. And here's the haunting part. It might already be too late, because whether he takes a deal or not, the offer itself is a revolution. It's a declaration that players are no longer at the mercy of broken systems, that they can and will build their own. The Browns are just the first casualty. So what comes next? If Sanders stays, the pressure is astronomical. Every move he makes will be dissected. Every bad drive, every team loss, every minor locker room incident will reignite this conversation. And the organization will always know he almost left. He could leave again. And he has more power than anyone in the building. If he leaves, the dam breaks. Every young star in the league and every elite college prospect will start evaluating their options, not their teams, not their agents, their options, because the precedent will have been set. You don't need the league to win. You just need leverage. And Sanders is all of it. This is the moment the NFL feared was coming. The moment when branding, equity, and business acumen outpace playbooks and salary caps. The moment when players don't just compete. They own. They dictate terms. They build dynasties, not just on the field, but across industries. And it all starts with one decision. Shedeur Sanders isn't just choosing between staying or going. He's choosing between being part of the system or being the system himself. Every second that ticks by, the Cleveland Browns look more like passengers on a runaway train they can't stop. And Shedeur Sanders is the one holding the emergency brake. But will he pull it? This isn't about wins and losses anymore. It's about identity. It's about control. The Browns thought they were drafting a quarterback. What they actually drafted was a brand, a movement, and now a cultural inflection point. And they had no idea how to handle it. They tried to squeeze a modern athlete into an outdated system. And now that system is cracking under the pressure. You can feel the fear in the building. Executives are ducking the media. Players are treading lightly. The locker room has gone from unified optimism to tense silence. Because nobody knows where this ends. If Shedeur walks, the franchise doesn't just take a hit, it detonates. You think this fan base, already fed up after years of letdowns, is going to sit quietly if the best thing to happen to them in a decade is forced out by dysfunction? No shot. There will be protests, boycotts, season tickets canceled, jerseys burned. This is that level of crisis. The Browns are one decision away from triggering a fan revolt, and everyone inside the organization knows it. And if you think this is just about Cleveland, think again. Every GM across the league is staring at the situation with a mix of horror and fascination, because it's not just a Cleveland problem, it's a league problem. If Shedeur successfully walks away with a business empire and his market value intact, it sets a precedent that players, even rookies, don't have to play by the league's rules if they build enough leverage outside of it. It'll be the biggest power shift since free agency was introduced. The NFL has always sold itself as the pinnacle, the dream, the end game. But if players start realizing they can skip the middleman and go straight to ownership, equity, and cultural influence, the entire power structure implodes. Shedeur's decision is the first domino. That's why the Browns are desperate. That's why the league is silent. That's why every players' union rep is watching this unfold like it's a Supreme Court case. Because no matter what happens, stay or go, the game has already changed. So where do you stand? Is Shedeur Sanders a quarterback with too much power? Or the blueprint for the modern athlete? Drop your take in the comments. This is history unfolding, and we want to know where you stand when the dust settles. And don't forget to subscribe, because this story, it's not close to over.